And what we're going to do is we're going to do a presentation here about longevity and movement. And then after that's over, leave time for question and answer. All right, and we're going to be alternating. I'm Marty Eddington. I'm the longevity expert. And Joanne, if you'd like to say a word or two about yourself.
Hi, this is Joanne Cat. This is Joanne Thera, and I will be joining Marty here for longevity and movement. And I'm going to share to you some important part about the movement. And yes, that is actually related to longevity. So I'm really into the movement therapy and the dance therapy. So yeah, I welcome everyone for this webinar.
Okay, so our agenda tonight, I'm trying to get this the right size without having it take up the whole screen, is I'm going to cover the first 5 of what I call 10 principles of personal longevity. The other 5 we'll cover in the second webinar. And then Joanne's going to address this number of slides during the different principles I do on how movement helps with these 10 principles and the 5 we're showing. And then we'll have time for question and answer. So our approach to longevity is we help people learn a philosophy of how to optimize their long-term health, happiness, and extend their longevity. We teach a longevity lifestyle. This is my business, which I call Personal Longevity, and it's at the website personal-longevity.com. This is the full 10 principles. We'll be talking about the first 5 tonight. And these are based on a lot of research I've done since 2009 and some experiences I've had over the years. And the idea is there's a lot of different factors that control our health and longevity. And these are things that are under our control. And there's coaching benefits to this in terms of stress relief. We teach a diet of long-lived people, lifestyles, teach people mindfulness, how to control their vital forces, what science tells us we can do to improve and increase health and longevity, and what areas of yourself and lifestyle you should work on. That's what we're having a workshop December 16th, and I'll show the page quickly and then later near the end. So it's going to be a 4-hour workshop, and we welcome you to come to that. It's going to be at this place, Follow Your Heart, at Sherman Way in Canoga Park. Okay. All right, so let's go on. So my story on learning about longevity and developing the 10 principles is that I have a 2-track life. In my traditional track, I became an engineer and worked in Fortune 100 companies, mostly in information technology for 35 years. But my other track is that I had learned to meditate when I was 19, had many spiritual experiences, and then since 2009, I started learning about longevity. I felt I came to it from a unique point of view without a bias towards traditional medicine or towards alternative health and wellness. I wanted to meld the best of both together, and that's what the 10 principles evolved from. So let's talk about principle number 1. I thought it was important because we want to help people understand that there are real cases, many cases of people who live much longer than is considered possible. The oldest person that the Guinness Book of World Records accepts is a woman who is 122 years old, Jean Calumet of France. But there are many more records of people who lived a lot longer that are pretty verifiable, even videos of some of these people. One example is Christian Drakenberg, and I'm going to cover these pretty quickly, but these are well-documented cases. And again, the reason we teach this to people first is because we want them to understand that it is possible to live decades longer than you might have been taught, decades longer and healthier. So anyway, he had an exciting life. As you can see, he was taken by pirates. He was a seaman, and he lived to 150 years back in the 18th century, and he had a very strong grip in his hands. There's a painting of him. Another person was Javier Pereira. He lived in Colombia, lived to 169 years of age. You can even see a stamp that was struck about him. And he was somebody who was pretty short, but he used to dance a lot. He was called the Old Indian who liked to dance. Probably one of the most extreme examples that seems to be pretty well documented was Lai Ching-Yang. And you can look these people up on the internet. There were articles about him in the New York Times in the 1930s. And his saying was, keep a quiet heart, sit like a tortoise, and sleep like a dog, is the reason he lived so long. He spent his first 100 years as an herbalist, had like 23 wives and 180 descendants. Really fascinating story about him. He even met the Emperor of China. So are any of these long-lived people alive today? Well, there's examples all the time. In fact, I just read about a guy who was 123 years old who had his birthday celebrated. Here's some other cases. One I found in 2010. I don't know if she's still around, but at that time she was 157, lived in the Indonesia area, and she smoked clove cigarettes. So that was pretty fascinating. There's also, of course, many stories of people in the Bible who lived to hundreds of years. Interesting how that life expectancy decreased significantly after the flood. Is that true history or an anomaly? And what happened after the flood? We don't know. But I think with all the records we found of long-lived people, it's not impossible that these people really had these incredible ages back then. Some of the commonalities of long-lived people is that they both exercise to an old age and they have a strong spiritual connection, whether they pray or meditate or commune with nature. They get out and hike and walk on a daily basis. There's even cases of some people in the Black Sea area, well over 100, who would be out gardening and climbing trees to get apples. They also use herbs like Fotitiang and ginseng. Next, we talk about principle number 2. Principle number 2, I put into the 10 principles because it becomes very important for a person to have purpose and goals in their life, especially when they're older. A person who's older and has no meaning in their life, no reason to live, is going to die because you have to get out and be active when you're older. And even at a younger age, it's important to have purpose and goals. And these things may change throughout your life. So that's why I made it a principle. And it's very important, again, so you don't just drift through life. Not having purpose and goals when you're a retired person is as good as a death sentence. And if this isn't addressed in a person's life, then the rest doesn't matter. We can teach them anything we want to. If they don't have purpose and goals in their life, none of the rest matters. Joanne.
Yes, related to, in connection with the principle 1 and 2, having a purpose of life is really one of the essential elements for us to keep going with our lives. As I always say, life will never wait for us. So the cycle of life is a continuous motion and it never waits for anyone. So our job is how to go and flow with the life in harmony. And mentioning about the purpose of life is one of the slides that I have here. It says the purpose of life is to live it, to taste experience to the utmost, to reach out eagerly and without fear for newer and richer experience. So every day is always a different day from yesterday, right? So there's something always new. So to have a purpose of life is to have meaning, like what Marty was mentioning. It's about having a meaning, a direction that you're gearing towards. And the next slide here, are you gonna, okay, yep. It also says the meaning of life is to find your gift. So for some people, some or most of us are actually a big question, how do they find a purpose in their lives? But one way that I would tell everyone is one of the simplest way how to connect to the purpose of your life is to find your gift. God has given us a gift. Everybody has a gift that God gave us, and how we make use of those gifts is our gift back to God. So I always tell everyone, everybody has given that gift from God, and how we enhance it and how we make use of that gift is our gift back to God. So having that thought of finding your gift, and once you discover that, then that could be one way for you to connect the purpose of your life, is to enhance it and enjoy it. Every time we do something that we love, it actually brings up the spark of that passion in our hearts. And having that passion is actually one of the essential element of you creating that purpose of your life. So the purpose of life is to give it away. So when we say give it away, once you have found that gift in you, then it is your job to share it. So one of the gifts is like having a nice voice. So when you start singing and people appreciate your voice, that is one way of you giving away your gift and making people happy. And the next slide also talks about the same thing. The purpose of life is to use your gift. So this is connected again to what I was saying earlier. And our gifts are actually our talents. These are our skills. And everybody is everybody has a unique ability and skill that only you can actually do that. Everybody can dance, but when 10 people dance, they have their own way of movement. They have their own way of doing the dance, even if you teach them the same dance. So that is what I'm saying about gifted in a unique way, and we have that. So your journey in life teaches you how to do that, because your experience and everything that happens to you is always a learning lesson for all of us. And the next slide actually talks about spark. So go to the people and the places that set a spark in your soul. So being part of this webinar, this is one way of you getting towards finding that spark in you, because once you learn something that will help you develop and go have the direction in your life and having a purpose in your life, that is one way of you creating that spark inside you. And that spark only starts from within. And that's part of the workshop that we will be having on December 16, relating to this webinar, is how to bring in that spark from within. So it's a work within. So you go to the people and the places that set the spark in your soul, and you can feel that. So, and the next slide also talks about the smallest spark ignite fire. So when you do something that makes you feel happy, when you do something that makes your heart feel that joy, that smallest spark ignites that fire, lies deep inside you, and it suddenly everything is possible. So that's when you bring out that confidence in you that you can do this, you can do that, and that gives you that lift, which everybody would have to have that feeling every day, that energy of keep going. And the next slide also related to what we are talking, that I want to tell everyone that there is a spark inside us, all of us. You just got to ignite that light and let it shine. So some people haven't realized how to do that, but you have your way of doing that. So this webinar, Marty and I here will help you to ignite that and find that inside you. But you are the ultimate tool for you to be able to find it and get connected to that. And every day, just like a car, a vehicle, it will never stop. It will never start without the spark plug. So the next slide also works about, so we keep going with the slide, your spark can become a flame and change everything. And the next slide, we just keep going, and we're going to, explain this more in our workshop. Remember, the only sign of life is motion and growth. So these are the intro frontier that this slide that I'm showing you right now, that Marty is showing you right now, part of my workshop, is to give you an intro idea and a frontier of what you're supposed to be working on from within you. So the sign of life is motion and growth. Like I was said, life keeps going. It will never wait for us. So it's a motion. It's a continuous motion cycle. So life is a motion. The next slide talks about without a purpose. This is now the connection. Life is motion without meaning, activity without direction, and events without reason. So having a purpose in life, which is one of the principles, 10 principles of Marty, is giving you that direction and meaning and reason for you to live. The next slide talks about movement is the medicine for creating change. So life is a motion, and we are moving every day, whether you like it or not. You just have to keep moving. But when you move with a purpose, it actually acts as a medicine and create a good change, not a typical change, but a change in your physical, emotional, and mental states. Every movement that you do has something effect in your physical and emotional and mental. The next slide talks about, among its many uses, the dance or the movement. Therapy aims to help people overcome trauma, often by non-verbally bringing the elements of the experience to the fore. This slide simply says that not everybody can express their emotions through verbal, but through movement and dancing or any kind of movement. That is also one way of us expressing what is inside us that we need to release. Negative emotions and those unnecessary energies that's blocking your body, you need to release that. So dance and movement is one way of doing that, to release and unload yourself. Because these are negative energies, unnecessary energies that's blocking you, are actually one of the cause that you don't spark inside, okay? The light inside you is not sparkling. The next slide talks about where there is no movement, there is pain. Where there is movement, there is no pain. True, because even the Bible says that our body, our physical body, is designed to move. So it is essential and primary importance that we keep moving. Whether you like it or not, we are moving. Even if you're sitting down, your eyes are moving, everything. So just imagine, inside your body, all the system in your body are into motion, continuous motion. The next slide also talks about, so here's the thing. I want you to have a thought of this. Tell me the last time you danced. Okay, among you here, right? Okay, just think about it. When was the last time you danced? And I will tell you the last time you were happy. Because I tell everyone the simplest and fastest way to be happy is to dance. You can sing because you're sad. You can sing because you're happy. But when you start dancing, whatever your emotions, you may be sad. But when you start dancing, when you start moving, it actually creates that happiness inside you little by little. And so my last slide says here that movement is dance. The simplest, fastest way to be happy is dance. Don't simply move. Dance. Don't simply dance. Explore your movement. So when I say dance, it's not a typical dancing. We have music. Life is a dance. So the movement that you do every day with a purpose, with how you keep going with your life, with your direction, you are dancing with the motion of life. So yeah, that's something about on my part with Principle 1 and 2.
Thank you, Joanne. So one of the things what Joanne just talked about is how to find your spark. And principle number 3.
Yes.
We're going to talk about life urge, and then we're going to talk about our spiritual connection. So the life urge is our subconscious and how we are trained to expect to go through different phases in life and die. This subject, it's called the subconscious death wish, and was pioneered by a man named Leonard Orr, who's still alive. He lives in Virginia. And it's all about the idea that we're expected to mature, have a few years of healthy life, and then die of old age. This doesn't have to be true. We can change our subconscious beliefs. And like one of the things here in Los Angeles that I really get sick of is hearing commercials on the radio about a certain company that sells plots for funerals. And they're expecting you, if you're getting up there in your 60s or 70s, that you should come in and buy a plot. Well, that's setting your subconscious expectations that you're going to die after a while. So one of the things that has to do with longevity is about changing those subconscious expectations. And now we get into the importance of a spiritual connection. Again, where is that spark and how does it affect you? So my beliefs, even though I was raised in the Presbyterian faith, are based on ancient teachings across religions and my own experience. And that is that we have a core spirit, which is part of the infinite and universal consciousness, part of the universe. And we have a connection to that. When we learn how to connect to that, it connects to a spirit that lives outside of time and space. There's explanations of how information can be transferred with no time lag, and I mainly mention that because the idea is that the spirit is in a no time, no space realm, and it connects all of us instantly. Now, one of the things that's been done recently in the last, I'd say 10, 20 years are studies of people who are long-term meditators. And part of our brain is called the autonomic nervous system, which controls our organs and glands. And those long-term meditators have very stable ANS, or autonomic nervous systems, that stabilize their body for the long term. So this is probably one of the most direct things we can show from science and medicine, that having that spiritual connection, having that spark vitalized in our systems, actually shows how your body can be stabilized for the long term. And many of these very long-lived people have that type of connection. And that's probably the most important thing that helps them long term. Joanne.
Yeah, thank you, Marty. And I just wanted to request everyone who's actually in the webinar right now, if you have any questions so far, you can just write it down in a piece of paper so we can address it at the end of this webinar. So on my part, I'm going to touch about the proper way of breathing. So Marty here talks about the subconscious, and I would touch something about the subconscious mind. Is about the paradigm shift. So longevity has something to do with the subconscious and your state of mind through the conscious and the subconscious. So there is a paradigm shift that is going to happen if you wanted to adopt the longevity principles that we are teaching here. So, and we will tackle that on our workshop, the actual workshop. So in relation to that, I would want to talk about the proper way of breathing. And the question is there such a way of proper breathing? Maybe some of you here haven't heard about proper way of breathing, but yes, there is a proper way of breathing. You may still be breathing, of course, up to this moment. We are breathing, everybody. We are alive, of course. But the second slides actually will give you another additional idea about what I'm talking about here, about the breathing. So the next slide talks about okay, let me have the next slide. Okay, before any real benefit can be derived from physical exercises, one must first learn how to breathe properly. So our very life depends on it. So on the workshop, and we are really inviting everyone to be really in the workshop for December 16th, because that's where I'm going to teach you how to check your breathing, and you can do it by yourself. The next slide will actually show you and give you an idea about it. And maybe tonight you can try this, put a hand on your chest and place on the other on your stomach when you lie down, and just take a simple deep breathing. So breathe in through your nose and feeling your stomach move outward. So this is one tip of how you do your proper breathing. But I will be explaining this more profound during the workshop. So you can do this. Actually slide, this picture will actually help you. So when you exhale, your stomach goes inward. So that is the motion of your body. So the next slide talks about meditation, which is related to the breathing that I'm also talking about here, because Meditation, there's a lot of meditation going on around us. Maybe some of you have tried doing meditation and different kinds of meditation. There's healing, mantra. But what I would want you to learn about the meditation is the most simplest way, which is the Anapana meditation. So basically, meditation is an experience of relaxing body, quieting the mind, and awakening the spirit. So how you do that is just simply focusing on your breath. So that's related. So the next slide also gives you the benefits of meditation, I think, yeah. The next slide, these are the benefits of meditation. I'm not going to go over it. You can actually, by yourself, you can Google all the benefits of meditation. But if there's one thing that I would want to emphasize about meditation, it's actually become one with your mind, become one with your breath, and become one with your body. And when you, through your breathing, just focusing on your breath, nothing more, nothing less, then you just become one, and you reach that oneness of your total self and your inner self, and that's when the stillness comes in.
And if I could interject something, let me interject, Joanne.
Yes. Yeah, sure.
I always use the analogy that it's like our spirit is a light in a fishbowl, and the sediment is churned up, the dirt and the gravel and everything is churned up, and it clouds it. And when we meditate, it basically lets everything calm down. Those are our thoughts and emotions that calm down as we become more centered, and then that light can shine out.
Exactly. And that's part of also, like what I said from the movement, through breathing, which is meditation, connects to the breathing. Everything is actually interconnected. The same thing that what you have just mentioned, Marty. This actually helps us, for everyone, this actually helps us to release and balance. So to release what is unwanted from our mind, our body, and emotions, because we have been absorbing. I would say we are a walking sponge, we're so receptive. Our body is so receptive. Our subconscious records everything. Our conscious mind is totally different, but the subconscious mind records everything. Our conscious has choices, but our subconscious has no choices. But then through meditation, this is when we unload something that are not supposed to be part of our everyday living, that actually blocking us from seeing that spark in us working. So the next slide actually just give you an idea and a thought how profound the meditation is. So you see the branches of what meditation can do to you. But we're going to make it so simple for everyone during the workshop that you can also practice. So, but once you attend the workshop, you will learn something, a simple tools that you can actually bring in and you can inject it into your lifestyle right there and then, right away. Very simple. So the next slide just gives you a difference between the connection or the benefits of the meditation, the direct and the indirect benefits. So we have the spiritual development and personal development. So you see the meditation itself, like just exactly what Marty says. When you get into that, the visualization that he would do for his meditation actually connects to both the spiritual and the personal development. So there's the spiritual connection, which is so important with the longevity, because as I've said, there is a paradigm shift that will happen when you adopt that longevity principles. So it develops mind qualities, intuition and wisdom. It develops your heart qualities, compassion, courage, peace, and joy. These are all under the spiritual development. And your body's will, resilience, and presence, it activates higher levels of consciousness. And your awareness, presence, and purifies your awareness, which is really important. A deeper understanding of self and true nature of reality. Those are the spiritual. And part of that is the personal. And personal is psychological healing integration. It comes to body and mind, and the feelings of peace and happiness and contentment that you can feel right after meditating. That reduces the stress, not even reduces, it actually relieves your stress, anxiety, and depression, efficiency and productivity in your daily lives, and the automatic ego reaction and conditioned behavior to become proactive and lessen yourself to become so reactive. And your biological age, yes, this is what the longevity is talking about. So it can reduce your biological age by 5 to 10 years or even more. So the next slide is also talks about breathing meditation. So that is the Anapana meditation that I'm going to teach to you, to everyone on the workshop. And then the next slide, it's just simply, the Anapana meditation is simply just focusing on your breathing. So the gift of learning to meditate is the greatest gift you can give yourself in this life. And the stress breathing test slide is just to give you an idea that during the workshop, you will learn whether you're breathing the stress way or not. So that's when you will realize whether, am I breathing properly or not? And if you're not breathing properly, then might be you are breathing in a stress way, and you will learn that during the workshop. Because I'll tell you for the next slide, this is from Rudolf Steiner, and he said, all healing originally resides in the human breathing system. So any diseases and sickness that we are experiencing in our body are actually rooted from the imbalance that's happening in our body. And when we talk about imbalance, it has something to do with the diet and the lifestyle and everything. But come to think of it, the most simplest, most baseline of all this is your breathing, because the breathing itself, if you're not breathing the proper ways, actually creates an imbalance in your body, and everything relates to a lot of things when your diet is just contributory and everything. So breathing is one of the main factor. So yeah, we go back to Marty.
Okay, principle number 5. Having love in your heart. A lot of people talk about unconditional love, but I look at it as more than just a philosophical concept. It's actually an energy. People can open your heart chakra, if you've ever heard of the word chakra, and you can have that connection with people and the world around you in a way that most people normally do not ever experience. This is important for enlightenment, for the search for happiness, and it's important for longevity. So we talk about having that love in your heart, and there's exercises you can do. In fact, some we teach, and we may get into one in the workshop, all about helping you experience this in your life. Again, it's an enlightened state. I believe there's many enlightened states, and it helps you realize your connection with people and makes you a less needy person. And I think that also brings health benefits to your life too. So it's important in living a long one. It's important in your relationships, where it's certainly important to a long life. And it's important to help enable your spiritual connection. It's not just the brain, but it's the heart. Those things are both important to enabling that full spiritual connection. Go ahead.
Okay, my turn, guys. Yeah, we're talking about love here, unconditional love. Marty also mentioned about chakras. So you guys, if you haven't heard about chakras, these are the wheel centers of our body, and it has something to do with the non-physical aspect of your body. It actually exists, maybe yes, non-physical. It's the same as your gut feeling, your intuition and everything. The physical has something to do with the physical senses, your taste and everything. So we are going to talk more about that during the workshop. So healing thyself, this is actually my book, Healthy Self, is Heal Thyself. If you break down the words of healthy, it's heal thyself. And why did I say heal thyself? Because I am a believer, and my tag for everyone, you are the healer of your own self. You are the ultimate healer, and you are the ultimate doctor of your own health. So it is you is the center of your life before anything else. So the next slide, it talks about self-love. Yes, we're talking about unconditional love. And who among us here haven't experienced to be in love? Of course we have. But we always have issues when it comes to love and relationship. So there's one thing that I would like to tell everyone and let everyone realize, that the first love that we should be nourishing is the self-love. And it's self-love is self-respect and self-worth, realizing your worth and respecting who you are. There is a reason they all start with self. You cannot find them in anyone else. It's all about you. And when I say self-love, it's actually work within. And it will be also part of our workshop. The next slide says self-love is asking yourself what you need every day and then making sure you receive it. So it is a connection to yourself. It is building your relationship. I'd say in my workshop, what is the very first relationship that you're supposed to be working for or working with or nourish? It is a relationship of yourself. It is yourself. So this has something to do with it. Ask yourself every day, what is it that makes you happy? Nobody can make you happy but yourself. It's always end to you. And I'll give you one quote here for the self-love to actually give you more profound, because some people may actually think about self-love is selfishness. No. So the next slide will give you an idea about the self-love. And it says, if you're not being treated with the love and respect you deserve. So this is kind of a self-reflection, guys. So check it out. Check your price tag, okay? Perhaps you've marked yourself down. It's you that determines what you're worth by what you accept. Get off the clearance rack and get behind the glass case where valuables are kept. The bottom line here is you have to start valuing yourself more. Give value to yourself. How do you do that? The next slide will tell you. The next slide says, eat like you love yourself. Move like you love yourself. Speak like you love yourself. Act like you love yourself. Just simply love yourself. This is the beginning of awakening your connection to yourself. And how you treat yourself will radiate that energy that people will treat you the same. So how you treat yourself, people will radiate the same. The next slide simply says that our first and last love is a self-love. If you cannot love yourself, how can you love others, right? How can you learn how to love others if you yourself do not even know how to love yourself? Then how can you expand and express that love to others? So the next slide is one thing that I would like everyone to have this. Maybe I would want everyone to read this with me. We can read this together. When I accept myself, I am free. Yeah, I am freed from the burden. Yeah.
Needing you to accept me.
Exactly. Of needing you to accept me. Perfect.
Freed
So when
of needing you to accept me.
Perfect. Yes. When I accept myself, I am freed from the burden of needing you to accept me. Because it is not your job to convince everyone to accept you. You are the first one to accept yourself and love yourself first. And the rest will follow. Thank you. Thank you for doing that. And we will have more of that during the workshop. And so you can take a picture of that slide if you want. So this is one very important thing. Another thing, self-love. And again, this is a self-affirmation that you have already accepted yourself. And so this is an affirmation of self-love. And I would more love you to read this by yourself. Okay, so we can start right now. Ready? Affirmation of self-love. Yes, maybe you can follow me. After me, you can follow me. Affirmation of self-love. Okay. I love my life. I love my heart. I love my body. And please say it with confirmation and conviction. Yes, exactly. I love my home. I love my mind. I love my little quirks. I love my sense of humor. I love my eyes.
I love
my family.
I
I
love,
love to feel inspired.
I
I
love,
love to inspire others.
I love to
Feel
feel
vibrant. Yes, I love to meditate.
I
I
love,
love to sleep.
I
I
love,
love to drink water.
I
I
love,
love to dance. I love to laugh,
I love to create.
create. Yes,
Love my
I love my soul. And I love me. Yay, yay. Awesome, awesome. Thank you. That was awesome. Okay.
Thank you, Joanne. That was lovely.
Thank you.
So now we'll talk a little bit about our seminar or workshop that's coming up. Again, it's going to be 4 hours, December 16th. And I should mention we're going to have another free webinar in late November, which you'll probably get, if you're signed up here, you'll get the notice for, covering the last 5 principles of personal longevity. And the workshop, let me double check. What did we set the price as per person? Because you're going to get a lot of information in this workshop. So I'm going to pull that up in a second here. And the idea is that you're going to get both lecture and exercise. So it's both for the learning and for the body. So it's $68 per person, which is a real deal for a 4-hour workshop. Plus we'll have some printed things you can take home with you. So
And in addition to that, the $68 is a one-timer fee, guys, right? But things that you're going to learn during the workshop is a lifetime tool that you can use for longevity, and that's something to do with the movement. So the principles that you're going to learn during the workshop and the things and the tools that you're going to discover and experience will be part of you for long term and for life, that you can also inject into your lifestyle right away the following day, and you can start practicing that. So a $68 is a one-timer fee, but the things that you're going to learn and discover and experience is for lifetime that you can actually use as your tool for longevity.
Thank you. And I'll just mention a couple other things that our company also does, Personal Longevity Inc., and that's in-depth personal training. It's online training. It's a longevity coaching program where you can do the multimedia training and testing online to get certified as a longevity coach. Different reasons to become a longevity coach. You could call me if you wanted to talk about that. And it's all online, multimedia. You can use it on a variety of things, whether it's a computer with a browser, a pad, or a mobile phone. We also have a membership site. So again, mentioning the workshop coming up, we've already said quite a bit about it. You can sign up for it on the event page on the website. I was just on the event page, and then I clicked through to the sign up page. I'll bring back the event page so you can look at that. This is the event page. You can get there by going to the website personal-longevity.com and then clicking on events, which is one of the menus at the top. And then it'll take you to a list of events, and you can click on this event. Okay, so I think that concludes our main presentation. There's a lot of information there. We covered an awful lot in just like 45 minutes. So I would open it up right now and ask, are there any questions? You could either write the questions down in the chat window or ask questions out loud. Are there any questions right now? I see there's 3 attendees right now, Pam, Kat, and Kirsten. Any other comments or questions? Because after this, we'll shut it down. All right. Well, thank you all for attending. Hope you enjoyed it. And
And we are also would like to invite you guys. Thank you for being online. And the second part will be on November 30, right?
Right. That's all on the invite page. It talks about the upcoming events. November 9th and November 30th. The next one is Thursday, November 30th. Same instructions to connect. And we'll also...
And we will be discussing the 6th to 10th principles of longevity. And so you guys would want to really get to know about the rest of the principles of longevity. We will be tackling the 6th up to 10.
Okay, that's it then. Thank you, everybody. Have a great evening.